This is from the pamphlet entitled The Panoramic Vision, written by Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, describing the things he saw on the day he received the vision from Yahweh Elohim. I will begin. An introduction to the revelation and subsequent teachings of Dr. Henry C. Kinley, embraced in the philosophy known as Elohim, the archetype pattern of the universe. From the earliest days of my youth, I had wondered how it was possible for Elohim to have made the heavens and the earth in 6 days. I wondered how it could be that no man had seen Yahweh, yet Moses wrote of the creation as an eyewitness. I determined to search the very core of the universe itself, the unity of the Spirit, until the answer was revealed. I, too, would know the mystery of mysteries. I turned to the solitude of the deserts, the wilderness with their singing streams. I turned to the solitude of the ocean's vastness in vain search. Bewildered, I turned to meditation upon that part of myself which was created in the image and likeness of Yahweh Elohim, about whom I wished to learn. I found, then, the true meaning of "Be still and know that I am Yahweh," my first lesson in universal knowledge. While in my meditation, I felt myself drifting away into a sleep, which was not sleep. I lost consciousness of my room, my bed, even my body. Yet, I was not unconscious. The sensation of having my mind turned backward and inward persisted until I was no longer in possession of any earthly knowledge. I learned that I existed, and that was all. I did not exist in relation to anything I could recognize. All I could recognize was me. This was that part of me which was created in the image and likeness of Elohim. It was to that me that the Creator spoke. He could do nothing with the egotistical, misdirected personality which had evolved from the many misconstrued concepts as a creature of earthly flesh. The dizzy, backward journey from the realm of time as I knew it into the eternity of pre-creation was exhausting. Yet there was no fear. There was no me to be afraid. I had become absorbed into the universe. I was spoken to while I was in that state. I say spoken to, yet there was no impact of sound waves upon my ears, and there were no words used. The speech did not come from somewhere else. It seemed to originate from within me, and so it did. For I was now one with the universe. It was willed that I should know a certain fact, and instantly I knew it. Yahweh Elohim willed it, and as he willed so, the entire universe, with me as a part of it, reacted. I knew I was being transported somewhere, yet there was no sensation of motion. For the moment I was universal, and motion is physical. It occupies time and takes place in space, both of which are of this earth. It was being willed that I should be at a point in the past where a revelation was to be made to me, and I was responding to that divine will. I was there. I was there at the time in history, just before Moses entered the cloud, which was surrounded the top of Mount Sinai. I was not in the cloud, nor on the mountain, neither was I suspended in space above them. I was a part of the universe of which there were but the visible counterparts. I watched the children of Israel approach the foot of the mountain. I felt, rather than saw, Moses and the 70 elders enter the mountain, for it was as if they were treading upon a part of me. The beating of their feet disturbed my vibration, and I knew I was being visited by mortals of a lower realm. Then the heavy tread of the multitude ceased, and a lesser one, Moses, continued to approach. I could sense the nearness of a soul, which was soon to become pure intelligence with me, moving onward toward its perfection. I knew the 70 old men had stopped, while Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu continued. Finally, only the one most advanced soul entered into the cloud, which was the connecting link between spirit and matter. Too dense to be spirit and too ethereal to be pure matter, The cloud became the meeting place between the soul of a mortal man and the eternal soul. Still, my sense of vibratory balance was disturbed. I was spirit, and man was invading my domain. But as soon as he was to come one with me in the spirit, and together we could approach Yahweh Elohim. I could feel the man Moses being commanded to lie down upon the ground, place his earthly body upon the earth of which it was part, and where I had left mine. Once more I could feel the pulling into space, through space into time, through time into eternity, as the part of Moses which was made in the image and likeness of Elohim, separated from its physical counterpart. Once more my balance was restored for spirit communion, spirit. It was as though I was reliving my life in the ages of Moses. I could see the prayers I had prayed before being unfolded and flashed on the screen of my cosmic consciousness at the same time as were Moses' pleadings for the Israelites. These blended into a symphony of universal desire, which was to be fulfilled before we returned to the shackles of mortal limitation. Yet our return would hold forth a promise given only to Moses, whose spiritual eyes had been opened. He and I became one in the universe, and awaited the pleasure of the Elohim of creation. As one senses the approach of a source of tremendous power, so all around us became as one gigantic electric charge. It was flowing through us and emanating from us, for we were one with it. It was universal, and we were a part of the universe. We and our surroundings had been radiant with light, but now we began to dim. There was no need to see. We could sense with greater clarity as the source of power came nearer. Greater and greater it became until we were vibrating with such frequency as to approach insensibility. After all, we were not Yahweh Elohim. It was a provision of his superior wisdom that no man was permitted to see his face. Our surroundings changed from dimness to darkness and then to the blackness of interstellar space, where darkness becomes an impenetrable solid. When? How? There is no when, there is no how in eternity. As it was willed, so is it. As if to further reduce himself to our limitations, Yahweh Elohim did not present himself as the great source of power we felt him to be. Ours were not spirit minds. They were but human minds freed from physical bodies for the moment and functioning on a spiritual plane. The human mind cannot accept that which it cannot conceive. It conceives only in comparison with something else it can and has conceived in the past. We had seen men. We were men with limited capacities, and we knew something of these limitations. Thus Yahweh Elohim presented himself to us as a man, but with unlimited capacities. Great heavenly anthropomorphic being that he is, he was recognizable as a man, an incorporeal spirit man, Elohim. The wisdom that he imparted now came as if in words uttered by the figure which had appeared out of the blackness of that before the creation of the sun, and now stood in all his glory before us. And our finite minds comprehended his words of wisdom. We were in the realm of, and Elohim said, "Let there be," and there was. It is of this revelation and the wisdom thus imparted to the writer during this experience, when the astral man was out of the body, that we wish to pass on to other seekers after truth, by the intangible divine pattern of the tabernacle. This divine pattern, which was first shown to Moses in 1490 BBY before the birth of Yahshua, and revealed in this age of the writer, Yahweh Elohim foreknew, planned in advance each detail of the universe, even to the finite meanderings of the mind of man in search of happiness. By this intangible pattern was the first physical tabernacle built in the wilderness, which symbolically prophesied every major event in the history of the world. From this same pattern, the writer has evolved a philosophical measuring rod, which can be applied to events to occur with the same unerring accuracy as did the prophets predict the events of human history to the birth of Yahshua the Messiah. It was by this plan that Daniel interpreted the king's dream and foretold the fall of an empire so vast as to seem impregnable. It was the loss of this pattern which caused King Saul to consult the woman of Endor and communicate with Samuel to learn of his downfall. It is the loss of this pattern today which has brought the world upon the brink of cataclysm second only to the days of Noah. In the 43 years since this revelation, the writer has developed a philosophy which enriches the spiritual faith of any seeker and strips the traditions and hypocrisy from all dogma. It returns to a religious concept, which can be verified scientifically as well as scripturally. It is hope for the unbeliever and true light for those who have started on their way to eternal life. In presenting a series of reflections on recent metaphysical discoveries, it is taken for granted that the reader is sincere in his search for Yahweh Elohim, that he, like countless other millions, really wants to know Yahweh as he really is and actually exists. This is the author's justification for presenting this work, contributing to the reader's spiritual satisfaction in the never-ending search for truth. It is not the author's aim to deny the faith of any. Neither is it the desire to circumscribe truth as it has been revealed him by the dogma of any denomination. Truth is universal. All that is required of the student is sincerity and the willingness to accept facts, regardless of whether or not they fit into some preconceived idea carried over from a doctrinal belief. On first reading, many statements contained herein will appear contrary to theology, and so they may be. But true theology is the ology or study of Yahweh Elohim, the theories of man notwithstanding. Facts shall be given to the student as they were spiritually presented to the writer. Conclusions in all cases are left to the discretion of the reader. Him that hath an ear, let him hear. First among the requirements for securing spiritual blessings from this page is peace of mind. As when the Master desired to pray, he chose a place of solitude, apart from the press of daily living, usually in the vast stillness of a mountainside. There in the majestic grandeur of the nature which he had helped his Father to create in the realm of the invisible, the materialized Son of Yahweh Elohim stripped himself of all earthly restrictions and stood spiritually naked before the throne. Thus, out of the self of daily necessity, his mind became the instrument through which flowed the will of his Father. Thus it is with the mind of man today. Alone with his communion, it is the will of the Father to reveal to his children the mysteries of his universe. Be still and know that I am Yahweh. Once man has withdrawn from his physical surroundings, the next thing is the clearing of the mind, for it is in a still small voice that Elohim speaks. Having done this, the meditation assumes a deeper significance than mere study. It becomes a spiritual oneness with the Father. The revelation, the divine pattern of the universe, embraces the existence of Yahweh Elohim, his divine law and eternal purpose. This theme is carried through the dispensations and ages as they are known to religious students. Comparatively speaking, it is new, yet in reality it is old, divine, psychological, scriptural, and scientific. It is an interpretation of the Bible revolutionary in its impact upon modern thinking. There is one concise pattern or plan followed by the Creator, Elohim, from the inception of the universe, and has been revealed to the author by divine source. First conceived in the realm of the invisible, the objects of the pattern were then materialized in the visible realm, counterparts of the original creation. Yahweh Elohim is invisible. It stands to reason that the products of his activity should likewise be invisible. But having made man to people a visible, physical planet, it became necessary for the Father to crystallize, make visible for man the objects of his creation. Man is too limited to enter into the invisible realm with Elohim and behold the creation in its purity. This is a future state which man shall have to attain if he ever achieves his theologically inspired ambition of being with Elohim and his angels. From the magnificence of the solar system and the majesty of the mighty seas to the molecular structure of a grain of sand, the changelessness of eternal spirit law points to a fixed pattern by which the universe was created. Man, being made in the image and likeness of Elohim, follows the same plan in his progress as does a star in the vault of heaven. So to man was this plan revealed, now that he is a creature permitted to reason. Yahweh Elohim first showed the plan to Moses, then the Apostle John, and the last time to the author Dr. Henry C. Kinley. Though the angels of the invisible realm and the patriarchs and prophets of the visible world spoke and wrote under the influence of the Holy Spirit, truth in its simplicity was not revealed to them. It was the prerogative of Yahweh Elohim alone to reveal the deepest of his secrets to whomsoever he willed. 1 Peter 1:10-12. It is significant that both John and Paul refer to Yahshua the Messiah as Yahweh Elohim manifest in the flesh, John 1:1-14, and 1 Timothy 3:16. Thus he, Yahshua the Messiah, while in the invisible, was the source from which these mysteries and secrets originated, both the visible and invisible. It is for this reason that while he was in the flesh, he knew all things and was able to perform all miracles. He raised the dead, healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, and read the unexpressed thoughts of men. He caused the fig tree to wither and die, and with a word stilled the ocean-born tempest. These things were possible in the visible counterpart of the universe because they were first established in the invisible. Yahshua was able to perform these seemingly miracles in the visible universe because he was part of their inception when he was with them in the invisible before the creation of even the solar system of which this earth is a part of. Man knows them to be a divine origin because they are demonstrated by the divine pattern of the universe, which was first shown to Moses and then to the author. That pattern, as it has been revealed, is the materialization in the tangible of the original divine law in the intangible. Yahshua, in the unity of the Spirit, was co-author of this law. Yahshua, in the flesh, demonstrated the working processes of the law of the Spirit embodied in the pattern. He and his Father purposed in the realm of eternity or before time began. Having seen all these things, a responsibility rested upon the writer. The voice came to him and spoke. Man! The sound was like thunder. Yes, Yahshua. No words were spoken, but the writer sensed being called, and in response assumed an attitude of humility. Answer me, man. What will you do with what I have shown you? I knew not how to answer. Answer me, man. I know not, Yahshua, I cried. Then I will show you, the voice thundered. But first, I will show you the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that in them is. I will show you, as I showed Moses, how I made them by the pattern like me, but less than me. Then I will show you how I made man, greater than these, less than me, but closest to me of my creatures of this plane. Then I was shown the creation, angelic and physical, from the blackness of when no light had been created until the earth was formed, vegetated, and peopled. The solar systems had been created, space had been brought into existence, and the planets hung in their respective orbits in outer space. I followed the process of the creation with my finite mind until I saw the manifestation of the spirit law by which the universe would operate from aleph to tau, or beginning to end. I saw the master plan as it originated in the mind of Yahweh Elohim and spanned the yet unrecorded history of the universe. Then I watched as the first electron was crystallized into visible being according to the plan, identical with the pattern of the universe. Then I watched as man, the final creature, came into existence. Electron by electron, cell by cell, atom by atom. Then I knew all things were made according to the pattern I had been shown. I realized that if I knew where an object or an event was placed in the scale of divine evolution, I would know how nearly perfect it was, and thus what were the next steps toward perfection it would have to take. Thus I became an instrument whereby the great universal intelligence would advise his own of the universal status quo at any time they chose to apply the measuring rod of the divine pattern of the universe. Once more the voice thundered at my consciousness. Answer me, man. What will you do with what I have shown you? This time I answered. I cried. Teach your people your will, Yahshua. This I am endeavoring to do in the book entitled Elohim, the Archetype Pattern of the Universe. In this book, it is the writer's hope to reveal the purpose of Yahweh Elohim in confirmation of prophetic and apostolic visions and revelations in this age, what was shown him in eternity or his spiritual day on Elohim's Mount Sinai. Masters and teachers are impelled to move and speak as the epochs of the earth's history changes. Now is the acceptable time to call to the attention of man the unchangeable will of Yahweh Elohim as expressed in the scriptures, void of man-made traditions and ritualistic ceremonialism. After all, we should seek to know Yahweh Elohim and Yahshua the Messiah for ourselves, as he really is, and as he actually exists.